It is Thursday, April 22nd, 7:04 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital, WCUA's only baseball-centric talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Snaith. I'm here with my co-host, James Higgins, and Robbie Cruz, and we're going to break down the latest in the baseball world, featuring another no-hitter, a few blistering hot teams, and a new take on a controversial rule. But before we get into that, thank you all so much for tuning in here tonight. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter if you have not already. That's at NatPastimeCap. Get all the updates for the show and the previous shows posted there as well. And if you want to call in and discuss anything baseball-related at all at any time during the show, that number is going to be 202-319-5106. That's 202-319-5106. Feel free to do that at any point throughout the next hour. And we have a lot to talk about this week. As I said, some teams on some absolutely insane runs. We have another no-hitter we're going to break down. And, guys, I got to say, where do you want to start?
How about the performance of Carlos Rodon?
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing because look at his road back. His road back from Tommy John. His road back from shoulder injuries, from elbow injuries. The road from where he started, the number 3 overall pick in the 2014 draft, to what he was supposed to be the guy in Chicago. And obviously for various reasons, injuries being the number one reason, it hasn't exactly worked out that way. And there was a point where Carlos Rodon wasn't playing for his next contract or, wasn't worried about that. He was worried about, am I even going to make the team? Like that's the kind of road of recovery he was facing from Tommy John. And for him to go out and absolutely shove, he was a hit batsman away from a perfect game. He's pitched the ball really well this year. It looks like he's the guy that they thought he was going to be when they drafted him. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. It's like the road back for Carlos Rodon, and for it to culminate in a no-hitter, and maybe this is where he finally finds his stride and becomes the guy who everyone always thought he would be coming out of NC State. That's the biggest takeaway. And it was just awesome to see the pure emotion from him, the pure emotion from his teammates, because they know how hard he's worked. They know the grind that he's endured, and that was the most special thing to me about his performance last week.
Well, like you mentioned, the road getting to where he is now with this no-hitter is insane. The guy was non-tendered in December by the White Sox and then, of course, eventually re-signed later into, I believe it was March. And you mentioned Tommy John as well. Did you guys know he is the first Major League pitcher ever to throw a no-hitter within 2 years of getting Tommy John? That's insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like it adds to the story of the road to his comeback. It's unbelievable because you think about all the guys that have gotten Tommy John and all the guys, just all like the guys that, it's hard to really succeed at that high of a level after Tommy John. Obviously, we've seen guys do it before, but I'm saying you hear of so many guys who get Tommy John and go through that grueling rehab and who aren't the same after. So for him even to have this moment and to have these few weeks of putting up consistent performances, that's what it's all about right there.
Absolutely, I would agree. Robbie, did you get to catch any of that gem by Carlos Rodon?
Yes, I did.
I got to say, besides the hit by pitch, he looked pretty good, I got to say. Do you think that, like James said, is this the key to unlocking the potential Carlos Rodon that the White Sox have seen throughout the years, or have hoped to see throughout the years?
And honestly, I think that if he is as good as he's shown so far this season, if he can continue to play this well, I think that's the key for the White Sox. Earlier this season I pointed out, they might have a hole in their rotation. I'm not buying in on Lance Lynn. Lucas Giolito is very good, but if you have another great pitcher in Carlos Rodon, I think that White Sox team is practically unbeatable. I think that because honestly, if you look at the American League, I think at this rate they could probably win the American League. Honestly,
that's a pretty bold take here in April.
No, I know it's early, but hey, it's still.
No, I agree. They very well could.
I want to say the Yankees are going to be the front runners, but they've been so bad.
Yeah, the struggle is still continuing in the Bronx, much to the dismay of one of our co-hosts here. Very unfortunate. They did, however, get a win against the Atlanta Braves a couple of weeks ago, so we should definitely, or a couple of days ago, we should celebrate that.
I have trivia for you guys.
You have trivia?
Do you know who leads the Yankees in batting average right now?
Oh, I actually want to get this.
Gio Urshela.
No.
I'm going to say it's going to be Stanton.
Giancarlo Stanton?
Did you not like that answer?
No, he's hitting below 200.
I know, it was a joke answer. No, I'm actually gonna guess. Is there someone crazy like Odor?
He's hitting 105.
Bro, I don't know. They've been bad.
It's Kyle Higashioka.
That's fantastic.
He's our best hitter right now. That's how DJ LeMahieu.
Is he starting?
Yeah, he is.
What happened to Gary?
He's been platooning, and he's been.
Wow.
I think he's missed the last few games.
Aaron Judge in spring training. Gary is a guy who can win AL MVP. Yeah, right, Aaron. Yeah, right.
But at least he fixed his teeth.
Even DJ LeMahieu's not hitting. You know what LeMahieu's hitting right now?
I do not.
217.
He's saying, well, no, it's not that bad, luckily. He's saying 270. Now, obviously, that's a pretty good number, but for DJ LeMahieu, a guy who hit 329 last year, a guy who hit 326 a year before that, to go from that to hitting 270, that's just not right.
Yeah, that's very fair. Going back to Rodon for a second, guys. I mean, this is I'm sorry, Rodon. Don't mean to confuse him with the former Cubs closer. Going on this pace, I mean, we should be expecting another no-hitter next week. So who's next? I mean, come on, this has been 2 in 2 weeks. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen, but if you guys think someone's throwing a no-hitter next week, who's looking good around the league? Because I got one guy, and he's the guy we're going to talk about next in the news segment.
Well, you can say his name because that's whose name I was going to say.
I want to say his name. That's Mr. Corbin Burns on the Milwaukee Brewers. This man is on a mission to start the 2021 season. In case you are not aware, 40 strikeouts without a single walk to begin the season. That's the most ever in the history of baseball. He broke the record for the most in the modern era when he got to, I believe it was 36 or 32 or something like that.
It was 36, yeah.
It was 36. And then he just got 4 more that night. Now he's at 40 strikeouts without a single walk to start the season. No one's ever done that before.
His whip is 0.33.
His ERA is .37. He's 2-1. He's got 40 strikeouts, no walks. I mean, he's been unbelievable to start the year, and I wonder how long he can continue this dominant stretch before someone knocks him around.
Did you see the quote? I forget who it was from the Brewers, where they said they think they had the best rotation in baseball. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't remember who it was, but I did see the quote.
I mean, that's a bold take, but you got to say they're looking pretty good right now.
Right now, they're top 5 for sure.
Oh, easily, because you got Suitors looked really good. You have Woodruff, who's I think one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball
Peralta,
the past couple of years.
Freddie Peralta at the back end.
Of course, Freddie Peralta as well. I mean, look, that's a team that's in first place right now, and they're looking ahead pretty good, especially with the recent struggles the Cardinals have had. They're in last place right now. Of course, it's only 8-10, and the teams are hovering around 500 here in the third week of April. But still, that was a division that I'd say 90% of people in the baseball world were ready to just give to the Cardinals. I like the Brewers from day one, and I don't know, Robbie. I think they're proving that they're not just going to give this away to the Cardinals. Do you like the Brewers' chances this year?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't think this is just a fluke start? You think they can ride this out throughout the entire year?
No. This Brewer team has a lot of potential. There's a lot of promise. There's a lot of talent on them. Obviously, you guys just listed the good pitchers. Their bullpen's really solid. I think they've solid pieces in a lot. And Yelich is out right now. I think once he comes back, they're going to be even better. So I like this Brewer team a lot.
The biggest thing that I will say about the Brewers is that obviously their success hinges on the health of Christian Yelich, because as good as their rotation has been, you know that they can't sustain this pace for the whole year. As locked in as Corbin Burns is right now, he's going to go through a rough patch at some point. Now, it might not be that bad, but he can't continue at this pace. And for the whole, if Christian Yelich, he will come back soon, but if he continues to have a nagging back injury for the entire season, they're not going to be able to pick up that kind of slack the whole season, especially with the contract that he's signed. They need him to be healthy. Like when he's healthy, he's a top 5 hitter in the game.
Yeah,
I would agree.
And it's a huge hole to fill in the middle of their lineup. Like obviously this is part of the reason why they signed Jackie Bradley Jr. He's off to a slow start. Avisail Garcia, he's come through with some clutch moments, but overall he hasn't been as consistent as they would like him to be. But right now, those two guys, they were going to be rotate, and they just lost Lorenzo Cain, who was off to a very slow start. So the Milwaukee Brewers offense is eventually going to have to pick up the slack for the rotation. When Yelich comes back, hopefully he can stay in for the remainder of the season and not and avoid a second trip to the IL, because if he is able to stay healthy, he should be able to put up MVP numbers, because he hadn't had a home run yet to start the season, but he had only driven in a couple runs, but he was hitting for average, he was getting on base, he was getting walked. So besides the power, it looked like Yelich was back to his MVP form.
Absolutely. I mean, hopefully he can recover from that back injury he has there. It just seems like a nagging thing that he's had the past couple of seasons. Because this goes back to last season.
That's what I'm saying. The only worrisome thing, and even 2019, in May of 2019, he spent 10 days on the IL and got hurt. The biggest thing for them is that they're going to need him to stay healthy, because he just signed that big contract.
Absolutely. That deal was absolutely massive when it was signed. I remember we talked about it on here and thinking that it's a deal that the Brewers pretty much... It was a case where it was one they had to make, but one that might necessarily not be the best in the latter years there. I'm drawing a blank on the number of years. Was that 9 or 10?
9 years,
$215
million.
Yeah. I mean, and it looks like a good extension on paper, and if Christian Yelich can continue to be what Christian Yelich has been and avoid injuries and stay in the middle of that lineup, that's obviously going to be key for the Brewers. But I got to say, assuming that he comes back and he stays healthy, I don't think there's a bigger key than the starting pitcher staying as close to what they are now as possible, because this is a rotation that outside of maybe Woodruff before the season, nobody really thought was going to be amazing.
I think a lot of people who watched baseball last year knew what Corbin Burns could become, but I don't think anyone saw him developing into, right now he's pitching better than anyone in baseball, even Jacob deGrom. As much baseball as I watched last year, I thought Corbin Burns would have a good season. I did not see him getting off to this start. I mean, what he's doing right now has never been done before.
I don't think anybody expected that. And also, did you guys see that Billy McKinney catch the other day?
Oh, unreal.
That
My
man's
goodness.
awesome. Good for him.
You a fan of Billy McKinney, Robbie?
Yeah. Oh, a former Yankee legend.
I was gonna say he is
Yeah,
a former
of course.
Yankee. I mean, he's quite the Yankee legend indeed. And we talked a little bit about the Yankees' recent struggles there. I don't really think we need to go any more in depth about that. We did that last week. We had a good little talk about what's been wrong with them. And just briefly, Robbie, does anything actually change, or you just think it's just more of the same here with the struggles that the Yankees have been facing?
Oh, I think this is going to. I don't think this is going to continue. I think it's being exaggerated by certain Yankee fans.
Oh no, I'm asking if it's a continuation of the problems you said last week are persisting into this week. Is that the problem?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same problem. I don't know if you guys watch many Yankee games, but there's still no heart. There's still no passion, and it's hard to beat teams when you're giving up 8 runs a game, and when your team's hitting 205, you're not going to win. They stink.
I want to close this thought out with the Yankees. Look, they're obviously not going to be this bad all year. Voit is going to come back. Stanton and Judge, assuming they stay healthy, will start hitting. But how much better are they going to get? Besides Cole,
that's the question.
Besides Cole, the rotation is not good. People just going into the season, oh, they're the Yankees, they handed it to them. But besides Cole, where are they going to get output from in the starting rotation? Corey Kluber has not been good at all. Besides Tyon on Tuesday night, he has not been good at all. Where are they going to get that production, especially from the starting rotation, besides Cole? Luke Voit can only give them so much. So I don't see they will get better, but I don't see them getting that much better.
Absolutely, for a team that a lot of people thought was going to run away with the AL. Definitely some struggles in the AL East, but I got to say, there's one team in the AL East right now that is not struggling at all and seems to be steamrolling through their opposition, and that, of course, is the Boston Red Sox. And I'm not going to say a single word about the Boston Red Sox. I'm going to turn it over to James Higgins here to talk a little bit about their recent success.
So having watched every Red Sox game, this is wonderful, especially after last season was terrible. I think the biggest key is Alex Cora coming back. He's their undisputed leader. He brings them confidence, and the players love playing under him. They had nothing against Ron Renicky. Obviously, he was their bench coach in 18 and 19. But there's something that Alex confidence instills in his team, instills in his players. There's a belief, there's motivation, and they absolutely love playing for him. They'll go to war for him every day. Now, you talk about the Boston Red Sox. Their starting pitching has been very solid to start the year. A lot better than what most people thought. Nathan Eovaldi, he's off to a great start to start the year. 3 wins. I believe he has a 2.50 ERA. He's striking out a lot of guys. His last start against the White Sox struck out 10 guys. He's looking every bit like the guy who they signed to that 4-year, $68 million extension after the 2018 World Series. So his performance in the starting rotation has been huge. The biggest concern is the starters at the back end with Garrett Richards and possibly Nick Pivetta, although Pivetta has looked good so far. But the main takeaway from the Boston Red Sox, obviously, is their offense. And boy, are they putting up numbers this year. They rank first in baseball in almost every offensive category. They're first in runs scored. They've scored 103 runs. They're first in hits. They have 183 hits. They're first in doubles with 48. They're second in home runs with 23, only trailing the Reds and the Angels. They're first in RBIs with 92 RBIs. They're first in team average 285, which is an unbelievable clip. They're first in on-base percentage at 345, first in slugging percentage at 470, which naturally makes them first in OPS at 815. As a team, they top to bottom 1 through 9, they are absolutely mashing the baseball every single night. And you'll obviously get your typical performance from JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, but 1 through 9, Christian Arroyo is just a very solid baseball player. He has stepped up. He's their starting second baseman now, and he's absolutely performing well. But JD Martinez, how about his comeback season? 6 home runs with a 368 average and 1177 OPS. Xander Bogaerts, he's hit a home run in 2 straight games, his first 2 home runs of the season. He is right now hitting .385. He's their cleanup hitter, hitting right behind J.D. Martinez with a .1013 OPS. And, of course, Rafael Devers, he's hitting .270 with an .896 OPS, 5 homers, 16 RBIs. And the spark plug for the team, the Energizer, Alex Verdugo, hitting .288 with 3 homers, 13 RBIs, and an .847 OPS to go along with playing really, really strong defense at all 3 outfield positions.
It just amazes me that the Red Sox as a team are hitting .285, and the team with the second highest batting average in baseball is the Angels. And you know what the Angels are hitting?
I do not.
.266.
See, that's ridiculous.
The Red Sox are that much better offensively than
And
everybody else.
right-
And honestly, I was wrong about them. Now I know it's still early, but I think this team's legit.
And like right now, their batting average on balls in play, or as other people know it as BAPIP, is .342. They are not going to remain that lucky for the remainder of the season. But this is also a very talented offensive group.
Well, I want to bring that back. Sorry, James, did you want to finish there? Go ahead.
And I was going to say, Christian Vasquez. He's still hitting the ball really well. He went 0 for 15 in the first 3 games against the White Sox this weekend. He's hitting .270 right now. Had a good rebound game on Monday. And the one last thing I want to say, Bobby Dahlbeck hasn't gotten going yet. He's still hitting .270. We're waiting for it. I think once the weather warms up, Dahlbeck is going to go on a home run tear because look, what he did last summer when the weather was warm and what he did in spring training when the weather was warm. I think all he needs is a couple good games of warm weather. The ball will start flying and he'll get his power stroke back.
Yes, indeed, the magic of warm weather, hopefully bringing some luck to Bobby Dahlbeck and other hitters around the league. I want to go quickly to a point Robbie just said here because a couple weeks ago we had a prediction show here, and the Red Sox were picked to be the last place in the AL East. I want to know, this is honestly, I know that you must have an undying hate for them as a Yankees fan, which is fine, but do you see this becoming something to start worrying about? Say the Yankees start getting up and going, and then they find themselves, right behind the Red Sox. And are you afraid of the Boston Red Sox now, or is it still too early?
No, it's still too early. I really don't buy this Red Sox team.
You just said they were legit.
I know, but I'm saying I don't buy them against the Yankees. If the Yankees pick up steam, that's the point that I'm making. I think if the Yankees perform to their capabilities, which I think they will eventually, I don't think that a Red Sox team that as good as Red Sox are right now, I don't think that they would stand a chance against the Yankees, quite frankly.
Very fair, although you got to look at some of those numbers that he threw out there. It's pretty impressive.
I want to mention one other thing. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said, the Yankees are hitting .205 as a team right now.
That's impressive.
That's the second worst average in baseball.
Who's number 1, by the way, the worst?
The Cubs.
Okay.
They're hitting .201.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Yankees are not going to hit .205 the entire season. Okay? Let's be honest, guys. They're not going to hit .205 as a team. Eventually, they're going to pick it up. I can see this team hitting maybe .230 as a team. If they can even hit .230 as a team, I guarantee you they would at least be in second place in the American League East.
Because putting aside how pitchers have performed on both teams, when you still look on paper, I don't know. I still think that the Yankees have the better pitching, especially in the rotation. Like James said, the question marks with Richards and Pivetta are the things that scare me as you get down the season.
But look, I think Eovaldi, he's 3-1 with a 3.04 ERA. He struck out a tremendous amount of batters. He struck out 24 batters in 23 2/3 innings, and his WHIP is 106. You're going to get Sale back June or July at the latest.
That's going to be a huge boost.
Tanner Houck is waiting in the wings. He's going to come up for Garrett Richards eventually. But right now their team ERA is 3.73. Will they sustain that? Probably not. But right now I do trust the Red Sox rotation because they are getting solid. Nick Pivetta has been fairly solid so far. He's pitching tonight. He's been fairly solid so far. Besides Richards, I'm not overly concerned with the rotation. Perez is going to be hit or miss. Pivetta, he'll probably be more of the same as the season goes along. But I have faith in Eovaldi to continue this performance because, like I said last week, he's ditched the cutter. He's throwing more fastballs. He's pitching more to his strength, and he's not allowing the opponent's game plan or the opponent's strengths to really manipulate his game plan. And I think that's the biggest thing is throwing his best pitch more often.
Absolutely.
I want to make one brief point about the Yankees again, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, a lot of Yankee fans are concerned about their pitching. Their pitching as a team, their team ERA is 3.41. It's not as big. Now that's actually
pretty good, and that's starters and relievers combined, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The relievers are really good right now. The Yankees have one of the best. They may have the best bullpen in baseball. That's a fact. But now statistically, their starting rotation is really bad. I think we all agree on that. There's no doubt about it.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not sure if it is bad. I just think they've all been bad outside of Garrett Cole.
I think their rotation's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, yes.
So you honestly, look, I don't know. I had pretty high hopes, maybe not on Kluber, but with Tyon to turn it around.
Overall, the Yankees' rotation is not good.
Dude.
Besides Cole, they don't have depth.
I don't know if you saw Tyon the other day. Tyon looked really good. Now, Tyon's not the problem. I've never been concerned about. I don't know if you remember, but last week I said his stuff actually looked good.
Yeah, it did.
You know? So I'm not concerned about Tyon. I don't know if you've been watching Corey Kluber, but he's been so bad.
He's
his
not Corey
slider
Kluber,
doesn't break.
no.
His sinker doesn't move. His cutter doesn't do anything. His pitches are washed. And now we're forced to start Domingo Hermann again. Hermann's starting today, and he was getting shelled in the first inning. Domingo Hermann might be the worst first inning starting pitcher in baseball. Did you know that? His ERA in the first inning, since he started in, I think it was rookie season in 2015, ERA in the first inning for his career, it's over 11.
Wow.
It's that bad. And
Is he pitching tonight?
Yes.
Did he give up a run?
3 runs in the first inning.
That's amazing.
Right now, their game is tied 3-3. One more thing to close out on the Red Sox: the return of Eduardo Rodriguez. He hasn't pitched since 2019 because of his bout with COVID. But this year he's 3-0 with a 3.38 ERA, and he struck out 18 in 16 innings. Those two, if they can keep this up, with Sale coming back and Tanner Houck waiting in the wings for one of those guys at the back end to either struggle or get hurt, like why wouldn't you trust that rotation?
James, I gotta know, how do you feel about the bullpen?
Outside of Barnes.
Outside of Barnes.
I feel good about the bridge getting there because Garrett Whitlock right now he's on an innings limit, but eventually he's going to probably be their setup man. Adam Ottavino, he's hit or miss in his outings right now. He's still working through some stuff in his delivery, but if he can get it figured out, Matt Barnes obviously has been pretty much unhittable this year. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball. Sawamura, Hirozaku Sawamura has been very good, and so is Darwinzon Hernandez. He has no clue where the ball is going half the time, but he seems to always get out of jams and high leverage situations. So I actually have fairly good faith in the Red Sox bullpen. I do.
All right, just a reminder again, if you want to call in, talk Red Sox, talk Yankees, anything else in the baseball world, that number is 202-319-5106. That's 202-319-5106.
Can I talk about a former Red Sox who is lighting it up on the next team we're talking about?
Yeah, I'm assuming you know the next team we're going to talk about because this new segment would not be complete without talking about the team that just won 11 in a row. And that, of course, is the Oakland A's. Robbie, I got to ask you first before we get to James here. The Oakland A's just won 11 in a row. How do you feel,
Yeah, Robbie,
man?
last week I know you stuck a fork in them, but ride the wave right now. Matt Olson, my performance of the week, 2 homers yesterday. He's hitting over 350 in his last 6 games. He's absolutely killing the ball. They are the hottest team in baseball. How do you feel about the Oakland A's?
Oh, I feel great, but honestly, I'm going to be honest. I'm not surprised. I've been saying this the entire season.
I know, but then you stuck a fork in them last week.
I know, but here's the thing. You got to say, I'm going back on the Oakland A's, and honestly, I guarantee you in 2 weeks they're going to lose 5 in a row, and then I'm going to give up on them again. But the Oakland A's are legit. Now, my opinion has changed a little bit. I think the White Sox might be a little better than the Oakland A's. You know, in a 7-game playoff series, I'm probably taking the White Sox at the moment. However, the Oakland A's have so many pieces that not enough people talk about, and I really believe in them.
Almost every piece, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the Oakland A's are a franchise that just compete every year, and it's so overlooked. These guys have been competitive for the last probably
since 2018, really.
They've been competitive before that too. They were making the postseason in 13 and 14.
I'm talking about like 9
in a row. You mean?
Yeah.
In a row, yes. But this team has remained around 500 and in the playoff hunt. Not even 500 in the playoff hunt for the better part of 10 plus years, and nobody talks about them.
Explain this to me. What is going on with Jed Lowry? That's my question.
Jed Lowry always kills it in Oakland. He'll go somewhere for a couple of years, come back to Oakland, kill it, go somewhere else, go back to Oakland, kill it. Oakland is his home.
But what happened when he was with the Mets? He never
they didn't let him get surgery.
Yeah,
they didn't let him get the whole Mets medical team is that's another story. But what I was going to bring up is Mitch Moreland. He's hitting clutch home runs, clutch doubles, 2 walk-offs so far for the A's this year during this 11-game winning streak. I mean, he's a guy who's not going to get remembered as fondly as he should. You know, he's just a consistent player, plays Gold Glove defense, comes up with timely hits, whether it's with the Rangers, the Red Sox, now the A's. He's just a very good player, and he's been a huge piece to the A's success.
They have a knack for picking up guys who have bounced around, bringing them in on a 1-year deal, and just having them contribute in ways that are unimaginable. It's really amazing what the Oakland A's front office has been able to do, and the fact that what's their team budget right now? Is it $60 million? What are they at?
60 or 70
That's
million.
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think it's like the 3rd lowest in baseball.
Yeah, it's right there for the lowest with the Pirates and with the Orioles. You know, like whoever's down there. But one thing I want to say that resonates both with the A's and the Red Sox, they are 2 very well-balanced teams. So, why don't you think either of this... if you think this can last for the A's, why can't it last for the Red Sox? Because the Red Sox, they're a well-balanced team. Like, they have guys who are doing it offensively. They have guys who are performing in the rotation and guys who are performing well in the bullpen. And if one night the starting rotation isn't like if the starting pitcher isn't pitching well, the offense will pick them up. If one night the offense isn't performing well, the starting rotation will pick them up. Like guys are picking each other up, and it's a different guy every night on offense. Like even among the stars. So why do you think it's not sustainable for them?
Well, I do think it is sustainable for the Red Sox. I said that they were legit in the beginning of the show.
But you just think in terms of like if the Yankees get hot.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
I'm saying in terms of if the Yankees get hot. I think that the Athletics would match up better against the Yankees than the Red Sox would. Now, that's not to say that the Red Sox wouldn't stand a chance because I think the Red Sox are much better than I expect. I'm going to be honest. I did not expect J.D. Martinez to perform this well. I was waiting for Rafael Devers to slow down a little bit. Xander Bogaerts, he's consistent. He's really good. I thought the loss of Jackie Bradley Jr. hurt them a little bit. I didn't expect Alex Verdugo to be this. I know Verdugo, he's always been pretty good, but
he was their best player last year. Their best player last year.
Yeah, I would say so, but I was waiting for almost like a sophomore slump, if you will. Now, I know he's not really it's not really a second season, but I was waiting for him to fall off eventually. The Red Sox are much better than I had anticipated, but the big thing that I always was concerned about was the pitching. I didn't think Garrett Richards was very good. I didn't think Eduardo Rodriguez would be that good coming back from injury. However, I've been wrong, so...
You're not wrong about Richards. In 2 of his 4 starts, he hasn't been great. That's really my only concern because I think Pivetta and Perez at the back end of the rotation will do enough, and I think Eovaldi and Rodriguez will continue to produce and continue to do what they need to do out there. The bullpen will be fine, and the offense is obviously the offense that we all thought it would be. But I think the biggest thing, and this is something that Jim Leland has always said, and this isn't just for the Red Sox, this is for every team, you always know what kind of team you have through the first 20 games of the season, and we're kind of approaching that 20-game benchmark right now. And I'm not saying that, teams in last place or teams at the bottom of the division like the Braves, the Yankees, other teams like
Cardinals.
that aren't going. The St. Louis Cardinals aren't going to finish in first place or finish in playoff position. And I'm not saying the Seattle Mariners, who are in first place right now, are going to finish as AL West champions.
Wait, hold up.
Because
we got to talk about it for a second. Why do they start every single year in first place? This happens every single year.
Yeah, but here's the biggest thing. Okay, right now the Red Sox are 12-7, the Mariners are 11-7.
Right.
And people are like, "Oh, they're evenly balanced teams." The Red Sox run differential is +30, which is first in the AL and second in baseball. The Mariners run differential is -3. So if you can look at the records and say, "Oh, look at the hot start," but when you look at the Red Sox run differential, that's I think to me that's the biggest reason why it's sustainable, because it's not just they're getting in slugfest or they're winning close games. They're a well-balanced team. Like I just said, the Seattle Mariners with a -3 run differential, that's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And anyone who watches baseball knows that. So, but I mean, look, obviously we've had the Nationals in 2019. They started 19-31, won the World Series. That's an anomaly. That's not going to happen every year. But it is interesting to watch. Teams like the Braves, the Cardinals, the Yankees, teams that are starting slow that we expected to have good years. When will they pick it up, and when does it become too late for them?
That's the thing. It's going to have to be soon, because once it gets too late, that could just be a mental thing as well.
One of these teams will end up bouncing back and being fine, but one of them won't. And I don't know. I'm not saying who it's going to be because I don't know, but one of them won't bounce back. I mean, that's.
So you're saying of those 3, one's not going to bounce back? That's your official prediction?
Yeah.
Which one? I have to know. I have my pick, but which one? This is actually a good discussion. Robbie, you have one?
I really think that the Yankees and Cardinals are going to bounce back. I think it's the Braves. I don't think the Braves are going to be. If I have to pick one of those 3 teams, I think it's the Braves that won't bounce back.
I say, and this is based off of preseason expectations. The Yankees will not match the level that people thought that going into the season that they would play like they're. I still think they can bounce back. Be in the playoff hunt, all that. I'm not discounting them, but I'm saying they will not return to the level that people thought they would be at the beginning of the season, which I think is a fair take.
Right.
I'm with Robbie. It's the Atlanta Braves. They're not looking good. This is going to be 20 games. They're 8-10. What is it? 8-11. They're not good.
I'm telling you. And the thing with the Yankees is the Yankees are not going to spend the entire season hitting .205 as a team. I do not expect Giancarlo Stanton to hit 170 the entire season.
He got booed the other night.
He's getting booed. I don't expect Aaron Judge to perform this poorly the entire season. I think that they're going to be much better offensively as the season goes on. However, if they don't pick it up, I think that Marcus Thames has to go at the end of the season.
All right, very fair, very fair. That's going to wrap up the news of the week here. Quick reminder, if you want to call during any of our segments, talk about anything, that number is 202-319-5106, 202-319-5106. Let's quickly give our performances of the week. James mentioned his real quick.
Matt Olson.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Everyone, yeah.
I mean, Matt Olson did have a fantastic week overall, but the specific performance, James, why don't you tell us about it that he had for the A's?
Yesterday, in their huge win yesterday, 13-12 to extend their winning streak to 11 games. They won in the wildest fashion on a walk-off error by a Rise on an errant throw from third. And this is going back to the extra inning rule, which we talked about last week. Josh Donaldson would have been the runner on second base to start the 10th inning for the Twins because he was the last out. They decided to pinch run for him. Not saying Josh Donaldson is the best defender in the world, but Josh Donaldson probably would have made that play. They pinch ran for him. Donaldson wasn't in the game. Arise took over at third, and they ended up losing the game. Rafael Devers just went deep, so there goes that Red Sox offense again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point with the extra inning rule. They needed that speed. And correct me if I'm wrong, did they score that run? Did Arise actually end up scoring once he pinch ran?
It wasn't. I don't think it was Rise who pinch ran. I think he moved over from second.
Oh,
to third.
gotcha.
But the runner
okay.
did score in a 2-run homer.
But I'm saying
Buxton hit a 2-run homer.
Someone did. But I'm saying someone did pinch run
yes,
for him.
For
so that's what I'm saying. You don't have that rule. Donaldson stays in the game, and Donaldson probably makes that play. If you want to go look at the play, it's the one that they walked off on yesterday, as James was saying.
Terrible play.
Absolutely terrible throw by Arise at third base. Just airmailed it over the first baseman's head.
The Minnesota Twins are 6-11. How did we, in the big teams, how did we forget about them?
How did we forget about them? They're supposed to be a powerhouse in the Central. They're not looking good.
Well, before we get too sidetracked, I do have my Matt Olson performance from yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
2 home runs. He went 3 for 5 with 2 runs scored, 3 RBIs. He's hitting .316 on the season. And last season, he's proving that it was, and he's with a 1078 OPS. He's proving last season was a fluke, just a down year and a weird 2020.
Absolutely. Robbie, performance of the week. Who you got?
So my performance of the week is somebody who didn't play. It's a retirement. Jay Bruce retiring was a performance of the week.
That is terrible. That you need to pick another one.
No.
That is terrible.
No. Hey, look.
That's the greatest news I could have heard for the Yankees.
Oh, hey. You first of all, hold on. You got to leave my boy Jay Bruce alone. Jay Bruce
had a very good
fabulous career.
Yeah, I
a consistent power hitter. Had over almost 400 home runs, I believe. Come on. He was bad this year, but he was done. He is an old man. You can't blame him for that. He tried his best, and the Yankees gave him a shot, and he couldn't do it.
I absolutely agree. But the thing is, if you can't play, you got to call quits, and he could not play anymore.
He did. He was getting so much pressure. He made the right move.
Well, that's why he's my player of the week.
Your performance of the week is Jay Bruce announcing his retirement.
Yes, because that had the greatest impact out of any team.
Yeah, how many games have you won since then?
1.
We won. It's been 2 games. Come on.
No, absolutely. Okay. No, seriously, though, a great career for Jay Bruce. Congratulations on a fabulous career. Played for, I think it was 5 different teams when it was all said and done. Made a couple All-Star games. Had that big walk-off home run that I'm sure Reds fans, will never forget in 2010. Overall, great career for Jay Bruce. Now, go ahead. You have an actual player of the weekend?
Yes. My actual player is Joe Musgrove. Again,
yeah.
I know we talk about Joe Musgrove a lot on this show. However, another great outing for him. 7 innings of just 2-run ball. ERA now is 1.47, I believe. The dude has been absolutely filthy since coming into the Padres this year.
Absolutely. He had another great outing for the Padres recently this past week. My player of the week, guys, I highlighted this one because it's one of those times where it just made me stop and realize how absolutely dominant a team is. My performance is Julio Urias this past weekend against the Seattle Mariners. Guys, before I tell you the line, anyone listening, in case you're not aware, this is their number 5 starter. This guy is their number 5 starter, and this is the kind of stuff he's putting.
The Dodgers are one thing before you go. The Dodgers are so much better than everyone else. Like it's not funny. It's ridiculous. Like the weekend series against the Padres, like that game on Friday night was one of the best regular season baseball games that we've had in such a long time. And then the next night on Saturday night was also right up there. The diving catch by Mookie Betts to end the game. I mean that's just like you need that like that. This is by far the best rivalry in baseball. These are 2 of the best teams in the league. I know the Padres are at 500 right now, but like they're gonna get going. Like and especially 4-game series this weekend at Dodger Stadium. The competition level increases by a billion when these 2 teams match up against each other. Like the rivalry from last postseason with Machado and all them yelling at Brusdar Graterol when he threw his hat off the mound. But the Dodgers, they took 2 out of 3 and they probably should have won that 3rd game. Like right now they're on pace for 126 wins, and obviously we're not saying they're going to win 126 games, but they are so much better than everyone else.
It's absolutely ridiculous how much better they are. And just again, driving that point home, this is their number 5 guy, Julio Urias, turned in 7 innings of 1 hit, 1 walk baseball, 11 strikeouts. That's a career high for him. And like I said, this is your number 5. So as soon as he's done, you got Clayton Kershaw or Walker Buehler going the next day. Like, oh, wow, that guy got us. Who's the next guy we had to face? Oh, it's Walker Buehler. Like, it's just, we'll get to the next guy. Well, it's Kershaw. Then it's Bauer. Then you have Dustin May. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And David Price coming out of the bullpen.
Like,
on most teams, he could be a 4th or 5th starter. Like, there's no doubt.
I don't think that. I think he's a 3 on
starter.
Most teams.
Okay, no, I'm talking about like a lot of playoff teams. He might slide in as 4 just because
playoff team is 4.
He took last year off. Like you don't know like if he was starting every 5th day how his arm would be reacting, but like he would be a legit starter on pretty much any other team.
And by the way, they're not paying that much for him, are they?
They're paying $16 million.
Oh, 16 of it.
They're
Okay.
paying half of it, so $16 million for this year, $16 million next year.
Still, I mean, out of the bullpen, like you said. Not to mention another guy. I want to finish the segment here, but I do just want to give props to this guy who's looked really good. Is oh my goodness, their closer.
Kenley Jansen?
No, Kenley Jansen has looked good.
Blake Trinan.
That's who it
Yeah.
was. The A's former
Kenley
All-Star.
Jansen got up to 96 yesterday.
He did get up to 96. That's something I never thought I'd
They
see
probably
again
got
with my
drug tested
eyes.
after the game.
Did he really?
I said he probably did.
Yeah, he probably was.
You know how
no, but
MLB
Trinan,
works.
dude, he's
Yeah.
looked filthy. That sinker, that 99-mile-an-hour sinker,
He-
oh my gosh.
His velocity's back up now, which
Yeah.
2 years ago that he was throwing like
He-
93, 94, and now he's touching 98.
He looks like he did in 2018 with Oakland, especially in the second half of that season when his ERA was I think 0.5 in the
Yeah.
second half of the season. Like he looks like one of the most dominant relievers in baseball again. But look, if the Dodgers don't have to worry about the back end of the bullpen, like they might not lose more than 10 games.
Because what else? If you don't have to worry about the back end of the bullpen, what is there to worry about? You have 5 guys who could be a 1, 2, or 3 on any other team. You have
They
a
have
lineup
three.
that's
They have
putting up-
3 number ones legitimately
Yeah.
in their starting rotation. They have 3 number ones, and they have 2 other guys who would probably be 2s or 3s on most other teams. They have the second best player in baseball. They have, I don't know, the 5th best player in baseball, and maybe like the 8th best player in baseball. I don't know, like Seager, Bellinger, Betts. Like, how do you get better than that 1, 2, 3? Oh, and then Justin Turner. Oh, and Max Muncy.
Look.
Gavin Lux.
Things happen, but I got to say it right now. There's really no excuse. I'm not going to say win because things happen, but there's no excuse for these guys not to make the World Series. They need to make the World Series. There's no team that stands a chance.
I know. I think the only team that might be able to like test them is the Padres in a 5-game series, like in the NLDS.
I'd say 5, not 7. though,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, if they played the Padres in the playoffs, it would be 5 because let's be real, the Dodgers are getting the 1 seed. They're getting home field advantage throughout. So if the Padres win the wild card game, I think that's the only thing, just because of the of the reoccurrence that they play with each other. They're going to play each other 19 times. Obviously, we saw how close these first 3 games were. Like, I think that's... I know we're looking far ahead, but, like, the Dodgers give us a reason to keep track of the standings right now because I want to see them chase the 2001 Seattle Mariners.
That
And they
would
have a
be very
legitimate shot
exciting.
to do it.
Yeah.
Andrew, I gotta know, do you still have the Padres winning the World Series?
Yeah, that's not looking like a good one right now. Look, Manny Machado had a great quote after the game the other day. He said, "Hey, you don't crown a champion in April." And I got to agree. Look, they're off to a 500 start, but it is still April, and as long as they stay around the mark, at least near where the Dodgers are, like James was saying, they play each other 18 times. Those series could decide the division.
Well, look. I think one thing that's evident is that the Dodgers are going to win the division, but the Padres give them a reason not to rest their starters after, like, starting in July.
Yeah.
Like, the Padres will keep it close enough. Like, by close enough, I mean 5 or 6 games, where it's like the Dodgers can't just ease up in June or July and, like, they wouldn't do this obviously, but they can't just rest everyone in June and July and say, oh, we have the division locked up. Like, the Padres are that team that can keep it close enough to where the Dodgers can't rest everyone, but the Dodgers are still the Dodgers. They're going to win the division. They're going to be the best team in baseball.
To answer your question, Robbie, I do. I'm not moving away from that yet.
No.
It's April, man. That team's got a lot of talent. That rotation is just as talented, if
the
not.
Padres will be fine, but
Yeah.
I think another big thing is that if Lamet ends up having to get Tommy John, like, why didn't he just get it in the offseason?
Yeah, that's going to be unfortunate. I hope that's not the case. So fun to watch him last year. So fun to see
And
Desmond
it was
Nelson
unfortunate
Lamet.
after 29 pitches yesterday he had to come out.
Yeah, absolutely unfortunate. That's going to wrap up the Performance of the Week segment. We got another dugout discussion on another hot topic in baseball coming up next. A reminder before that, if you want to call in at any time, that number is 202-319-5106. That's 202-319-5106.
Real quick before we get into that,
Yeah, go ahead.
what do you have for this weekend? 4-game series at Dodger Stadium starting tonight. What do you have?
I'll take the cop out and say. Well, actually, no. I'll take the cop out and say they split.
I say Dodgers 3 out of 4.
I say the same thing.
See, that feels too easy though.
I know it feels too easy, but like look at the pitching matchups. Look what
Yeah,
they have throwing.
yeah, I know.
And especially since it's at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers probably should have swept them last time too.
With increased capacity, more fans there
Yeah.
always means more energy in the ballpark. Always good to see around baseball. We're slowly getting back up closer to 50, hopefully even more as the summer goes on. Guys, for tonight's dugout discussion, we have an issue that I am going to be sitting here completely alone on, but that's fine, and I'm okay with this. We're going to talk about the universal DH. It's been a long time coming on this show. We've teased it.
Stop.
No, hold on. Now, hold on a second. because we've teased this multiple times that we were going to have a discussion about this on Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital. And some news broke this week of some new rules being tested in the Atlantic League that could potentially, maybe, depending on your opinion, find their way into baseball at one point in Major League Baseball.
They should never find their way into Major League
Well, hold
Baseball.
on. We didn't even discuss it yet. Let's get to the actual rule before we give our opinions on that. In case you missed it, the rules being tested in the Atlantic League are a universal DH until the starting pitcher comes out. That means you can have a designated hitter bat until the starting pitcher is removed. After that, the spot where the DH is in the order becomes the pitcher spot. You have to either pinch hit for him, double switch, whatever it may be, the rest of the game. First question I'm going to ask both of you. Brief thoughts on this. We have a lot more to talk about. Yes or no, do you like this? Robbie?
The universal DH?
No. This specific universal DH until the starting pitcher comes out.
So, like, if your pitcher gets roughed up and you pull him in the second inning, that means your DH is gone.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you persuade him a little more there, James, with the...
I feel like he was misunderstanding.
No, yeah, I'm totally misunderstanding. I do not like that idea.
You don't like this rule?
I think the term universal DH threw him off. That's why I was trying to.
Oh,
explain.
gotcha. By universal, I just meant that both leagues would have this then.
Yeah, so like you would have a DH and you would have the DH until the starting pitcher gets pulled. So if the starting pitcher pitches a complete game, DH stays in the whole game. If he gets pulled in the seventh inning, you lose the DH after the seventh inning.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's the best thing that you can. If you, no matter what, you're gonna have traditionalists who complain about the universal DH rule. I think that with this strategy, you're still incorporating strategy, as Andrew always complains. He always says, "Oh, we need strategy in baseball." There's strategy right there.
Is that what I say? That's what I say?
Is that not what you say?
I say it exactly like that. You're right, Robbie.
But do you say that?
Look,
your argument's always been
strategy.
Exactly. And there's strategy implemented right there. Now, here's another thing. My argument against pitchers hitting is that 2 years ago, pitchers hit 105. And right now, Rob Manfred's trying to increase baseball ratings. Do fans want to see pitchers hit 105?
Yes.
Fans
want to see pitchers hit home runs, man.
Stop it.
They can't do that if they're being DH.
Stop it. And how often is that?
When it happens, it's a treat.
When it happens,
I'm going to say one thing. Hold on.
What about the other 50 or 89% of the time?
I want to let James give his opinion here, but I do want to say one thing. It's not so much strategy. I do like the strategy that not having a DH presents, but baseball was founded on the principle that every single man has to take the field and then bat for himself. Just throwing in another free batter that now one of the guys on the field just doesn't have to do one of his core two duties of while being on a baseball field, I think is against the game. That's why I don't like it.
I do not like this this is in the Atlantic League, right?
Yeah, they're testing in the Atlantic League coming up.
I don't like this rule at all because you lose a legitimate bat, and especially let's say your starting pitcher gets roughed up after 2 or 3 innings. Let's say you are the home team and your starting pitcher gets roughed up in the first inning. You have your DH hitting fifth. Your DH might not even get an at bat, and obviously that would that's an extreme case. But in terms of just you lose a player out of no control of his own, because your starting pitcher can't perform. I mean, that just changes the game completely. Like, why would you even test that rule out? Just leave the rule as it is. If you don't want the universal DH, just keep the DH in the AL and have the NL stick with what they have right now. Obviously, that will probably change after the CBA this year. But testing out this rule is stupid because we know it's not going to make its way up to Major League Baseball.
No, there's a good chance that this will never see the light of day in Major League Baseball. I just think it's interesting to think about, like you said, the impacts this would have. Also, quick mention there you said of the CBA coming up. That's the thing that I think is going to really decide it is the players. Because you know darn well that every single player, besides pitchers, wants the universal DH.
Most pitchers want the universal DH.
Pitchers want it too.
Yeah, because
really?
They don't want to hit.
I was talking about the fact that they're going to be facing an extra guy in the lineup.
Oh,
though.
no, but they don't want to hit.
No, seriously. Some of them want to.
Blake Snell, Darvish, they were like, man, I got to hit now. And Darvish is like, can we just get the universal DH? He said that before the season.
I think most pitchers would rather face a DH and not have to hit than have to hit.
Wow. Okay.
Because their team,
I'm staying corrected.
Their team gets the same advantage. It's not like
true.
an unfair advantage for one team or the other.
No, that's true, and I could see that. But basically what my point is, though, it's going to come down to the players want this. This is an extra job opportunity.
It opens up, I was going to say, it opens up 15 more jobs for veterans.
It opens up 15 more jobs for guys like, for the God's sake, let's look at Nelson Cruz. Guy's already got 6 home runs this year. He's like 95 years old. When is he going to stop?
I would rather see this new rule implemented, though, than see pitchers continue to hit.
Well, that was my thing. If you had a choice between this new starter-only DH and pitchers continuing to hit, you're taking this?
Absolutely. In
James?
a heartbeat.
Oh, well, okay, this is a complete hypothetical,
Yeah, of
so
course.
I would take pitchers continuing to hit just because we would get the same AL/NL rules.
That's fair. That's fair. But I don't know. A lot of people very adamant on getting the DH into the National League.
Oh,
And
the universal DH is coming. That's
No,
why I'm fine with it.
That's why ultimately this isn't going to be a debate, because anything I sit here and say is going to be irrelevant, because a year from now we're going to be sitting in the same studio and the Philadelphia Phillies are going to have a DH, and there's nothing I can do about that.
But look, that'll help Bryce Harper at the end of his career.
I'm not arguing that it's going to help my personal team. I'm trying to look at baseball from a historical standpoint and from a standpoint of a guy who considers himself a fan of what the sport represents.
But it also has been in place. The DH has been in place since 1973.
Not in the baseball I watch, it hasn't.
So, but in the World Series, when they played the Rays in the World Series, it was.
Yeah, woohoo! We got Matt Stairs the DH a couple days. That was great.
So, Andrew, you would say that you're a traditional baseball fan, right? Like, you're very old school?
I'm not very old school. Honestly, a lot of the things that are traditional old school guys like get upset about, like, I'll give you a good example. When Tatis was swinging on that pitch last year, I love that. Good for him.
Okay.
He should. Almost every other thing I disagree with him on, but no, this is one thing. I don't want the DH. Baseball, like I said, is every man goes out in fields and every man bats for himself. You can pinch hit if you want, but you don't get a free sub in there to do it. I know it's been happening for 50, 40, whatever years in the AL, but I don't watch American League Baseball, so to me it's weird, it's alien. I'm not a fan of it.
How is it alien is my question.
It's alien because I like sitting down and watching a baseball game where I know my pitcher's going to bat ninth or eighth if you're Gabe Kapler and you think you're a genius. And there's the strategy that comes with that. I like watching that part of the game.
Well, with this new rule, you are getting strategy.
We're not talking about the new rule. We're talking about all DH or nothing.
Oh, you're
with the new rule. I have actually given my
opinion
opinion on that. You're right. I would be fine with this new rule. If it's this or everything, yeah, I'd take this. This is fine.
I would much rather see this new rule implemented than see pitchers continue to hit, because seeing pitchers continue to hit it's a waste of time.
Really, it's a waste of time when
Yes.
Zach Wheeler went 2 for 3 the other day, drove in 2 runs, and pitched 8 innings.
And what's he hitting for his career?
I don't care what he's saying for his career. That was one of the coolest things we've seen this season. A guy go 8 shutout innings and then get 2 hits and 2 RBI and win the game for himself.
And then what does he do the other 9 at-bats?
What does it matter? What does he do the other 9 at-bats?
He's striking. Yes, it does.
What does it matter?
Because most of the time, an average baseball fan is going to go up there and see a pitcher strike out. He's going to see him do a sacrifice bunt.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to see him roll over, and it's a waste of time.
So because most of the time someone doesn't get a hit, we should take away their ability to hit completely. That's what you're saying.
It goes well beyond
Because
that. Plus, pitchers
most of the time.
9 times out of 10.
9 times out of 10. I'll give you that stat. That's true. But what about that last time out of 10? We're just going to take that away because they normally don't do it?
You're going to see DH get better results than pitchers hitting, though.
Okay.
I would much rather see a DH hit every single day, because they're going to get hits 3 times out of 10 most likely, and a pitcher, it's only 1 time out of 10.
So pitchers have long been considered the best athletes on the team, right? A lot of people like saying, "Oh, pitchers
I
are
don't
the
know
best
if I
athlete
would
on
say.
the team."
I
I'm not
don't
sure
know.
I agree with
I
that,
would say
but I'm saying
center fielder's probably the
people.
most center fielder.
Not every center fielder. I'm saying, generally speaking, something you like hear thrown around is pitchers are the best athletes on the team. That's why if you look at it, an extra inning game where you got to put a pitcher or someone in at left field, it's normally a starting pitcher. They throw him in left field or something, right? Not in every case. I'm saying mostly. If pitchers are the best athletes on the team, why can't they hit better, huh?
Why are they hitting 100?
Because their whole life, since they've been playing travel ball in high school, they haven't hit.
Exactly.
And they don't hit in college. They're
Exactly.
POs. They're paid to pitch.
So that's my point. I think there's a fundamental problem with that. You're
But
losing a part of the game.
But they're paid. They are paid, and they are drafted, and they are signed, whatever you want to describe it as, to pitch. And the injury risk when they hit, like what if they get hit by a pitch and they're throwing arm? We've seen pitchers get hurt on the bases. Like all of that goes into it.
So you want to see pitchers spend more time hitting than pitching?
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what you're assuming.
I want to talk about the next rule change, which could really screw up pitchers' arms, which is moving the mound back in the Atlantic League.
Okay, so here's the thing. That is the other Atlantic League change that they're testing this year, and I don't think I've seen a single person who's a fan of that.
Nobody likes it because it's going to change the trajectory of stuff completely. Like they talk about strikeouts being up. Well, now there's going to be an extra foot for hitters to pick up that breaking ball and probably lay it off for a ball.
What is the reasoning that he has behind implementing that? Has he given one?
It's probably hitting.
It's hitting?
Because when you think about it this way, guys are going to have an extra foot, an extra however 3 milliseconds, however much to pick up the spin on the baseball. like guys, it's gonna hurt guys' arms. That's for sure. It's gonna hurt guys' arms, and they want strikeouts to cut. I think it's honestly strikeouts getting cut down. I think that's the biggest thing, and like he's not gonna come out and say that, but I mean, when you look at the underlying like things in the game, that's it.
Yeah. That is, like I said, one that I don't really think anyone wants to actually see implemented. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really see that actually even making it to the MLB.
No.
Chance.
And like Dallas Braden on starting 9 last week, he threw out like a funny one where he said like you could go at different ballparks, the mound is going to be at different lengths. So like if you go to Cincinnati, the mound is 58 feet away. But you go to San Francisco where it's harder to hit the ball out, the mound is 62 feet away. He was just throwing out some funny scenarios where it's like, imagine if we did this, and obviously he didn't agree with it, but he was just throwing it out there saying like that's what it could turn into, which would not be right at all.
Absolutely. Robbie, any thoughts on moving the mound back? Any strong opinions?
No, I think we all disagree. Like you guys said, I've never heard anybody support this rule.
No.
It's ridiculous.
Also, and I think we all know the real fundamental problem with baseball needs to be solved right now, of course, which is the oven mitts. The oven mitts got to go, guys. The oven mitts are just...
The oven mitts are a problem, okay? I'm tired of seeing the oven mitts on base runners. I'm tired of seeing it be put on. It's giving the base runners an advantage.
This is made up because every team has the oven mitts. I don't even know why we're talking about oven mitts.
No, I don't want to talk about the oven mitts.
Oven mitts are the problem with baseball. That's all I got to say.
All the deep-rooted problems with Major League Baseball, and the one we have to attack head-on, guys, it's oven mitts. We got to stop that. We got to stop that right now.
It gives base runners an extra 2 inches, okay?
All right, Robbie. Yep, we'll one day hopefully get to a world where oven mitts are outlawed and baseball is fixed and there are no problems. Guys, we're rounding out the hour here. Any final thoughts about some of the upcoming things we can look forward to over the week? Of course, we talked about that stellar 4-game series in Los Angeles between the San Diego Padres and Dodgers. That's going to happen. I think we all know about that one. Anything else you're looking forward to over the next week before our next show?
The Red Sox to keep it rolling. We are good.
I'm excited to see the Yankees continue to lose.
Robbie, I'm so sorry. I know this must be really hard for you coming from a team that only has 27 World Series championships, so it must be real hard to watch this Yankees team right now.
One thing I do want to watch for is that will the Mets get Jacob deGrom some run support? I know we talk about that every week, but will the Mets get Jacob deGrom some run support? Will the Indians get Shane Bieber some run support? Oh, Shane Bieber, first pitcher in the modern era to have his first 4 starts of the season have 10 or more strikeouts in those starts. He continues to make history. He continues to pile up the Ks. He's been unbelievable. And I think another thing is you look for those, Minnesota, Atlanta, St. Louis, New York. Will those teams turn it around, and will Kansas City and Seattle keep these hot starts going?
Hey, at some point, those teams you mentioned, the big ones like New York, Atlanta, St. Louis, they're going to have to go on a run eventually. The further they get into the hole, the more they're going to need a big run to get them out of that hole and back in the race. And like you said, it's going to have to come sooner rather than later. Let me talk about one thing you brought up there about the Mets and Jacob deGrom. I want to talk about another player on the Mets who I think just became the worst contract in baseball history. This is the biggest. Hey,
you're already saying the worst contract in baseball history?
Here's the problem.
You can say in baseball right now,
No, I don't know if it's gonna be history, dude. This guy is not the same Francisco Lindor that we saw. It is not. I'm sorry. It's not even that he's bad. I'm talking about from a standard of contract. Because here's the thing. Actually, let me say this first. What do you guys think is the worst contract in Major League Baseball history? Without cheating.
Carl Crawford.
Okay.
Or Pablo Sandoval is probably the worst in Red Sox history, but the reason why I would put Crawford over that for MLB history, even though it's not the worst in team history, is just because of the Dodgers did bail him out, but the way the trade went, the way the whole ending transpired, I don't know. I would say Crawford or Sandoval.
All right, so here's the thing. Those were, 5, 6 years? They just committed 11, 12, 11? I forget. It's 13.
10.
10, that's what it
10.
was. It was 10. It was 10 years to him. And over $300 million, he's just not that type
Chris
of
Davis.
player.
How could I forget Chris Davis?
I was
all right, fine. We're going to talk about Chris Davis. I mean, that's fine. Jacoby Ellsbury, Chris Davis, all them. But hey, the Yankees got some insurance money back from that. I'm saying this is 10 years committed to a guy who I don't think is going to be a superstar. He has looked miserable.
Well, wait, he's been a superstar. Or you're saying he won't get
I said
back
he's not
to
going
that
to
level.
be a superstar for the Mets. He's looked absolutely miserable. He finally hit his first home run the other night. This is a guy who I think is a case where his name got him that contract. And the Mets are going to be regretting that.
Well,
for
another
years to
thing
come.
is that if he got that contract, imagine the contract Corey Seager is going to get this offseason because he
man.
and Xander Bogaerts right now are probably the two best shortstops in baseball, especially looking at over the last couple of years. It is between those two, I would say.
Corey Seager, yes or no? $350 million.
Yes. And if Xander Bogaerts opts out after next year,
that's a lot of money.
No.
That is a lot of money for a shortstop there. I'm not saying it's not worth it.
Corey,
but my goodness.
Corey Seager is one of the best all-around players in baseball.
I wouldn't disagree. That is absolutely true. And wherever he goes this offseason, rest assured he's going to be paid very handsomely.
And he could very well end up back in L.A. with the way they have. Look, they only have Mookie Betts on the books besides 2022. I'm saying they have structured those contracts so well to where they can afford a huge extension like Seager because they knew this day was coming.
I'm sitting here shaking my head right now. James is absolutely right. The Dodgers, you want to look at a baseball team, as much as I despise them throughout history, that's doing it right, that's the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And look, they can afford those big contracts. And they could probably afford one or two more because guess what? If they keep all those guys intact, they're going to keep winning.
They sure are. They're going to keep winning. They're going to keep doing ridiculous things like they're doing right now, and they're going to keep being the team to beat in baseball. And we'll have to see if that actually does happen. That's going to about wrap up our show for tonight. A quick notice before we end here. Once again, we're going to have a little bit of a scheduling conflict here on WCUA next week. The show is going to be Wednesday again at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. That was the slot we did last week as well. That slot's going to return for next week's show and probably next week's show only. We should go back to Thursday after that. But definitely for next week, tune in here on WCUA around 7 p.m. on Wednesday night. So thank you all so much for listening tonight. That's going to be about it. That's all we have. A quick reminder before we let you go again. Follow us on Twitter. All of the show updates, all of the previous shows are posted there. Everything you need to stay up to date with us here at Nation's Pastime and Nation's Capital. And that Twitter is at NatPastimeCap. At NatPastimeCap. Give us a follow there. And with that said, everyone have a fantastic rest of your evening. Enjoy some great baseball this weekend as well. And we'll talk to you next week.